never smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditsies. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome, guys. That's right. Miss Liz is in the house in the morning. That's right. Morning tea time. You can have tea time at any time, morning, afternoon, and evening. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is a rescheduled tea time with Scarlett Lewis. And today's tea time is that we're serving is nurturing, healing, and love. And we're going to be talking about a topic that may be triggering for some people, which will be in the disclaimer in a second. And then we're going to get out some good information about the Choose Love movement and all the incredible books that Scarlett Lewis has written. So let's start with the disclaimer and a beautiful intro. But before we get started with all that, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Go over to Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all those podcast apps, Spotify, Shopify, and not Shopify. I don't know where Shopify keeps coming in, but Spotify, Podbean, Listen Notes, all those good platforms. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and get these tea times out there because they do make a difference for the guests and for the listening audience that resonates with the stories. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of this discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart. And if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where some conversations ask us not just to listen, but to feel, to reflect, and to choose who we become because of what we hear. Today's guest brings us a story that holds both heartbreak and hope, and a message that continues to change lives around the world. Please join me in welcoming Scarlett Lewis, the founder of Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement. Scarlett is the mother of Jesse Lewis, a 6-year-old boy whose life and courage became the foundation of a global movement rooted in love. After experiencing unimaginable loss, Scarlett chose a path that many would find impossible. She chose to turn pain into purpose. When she returned home, she discovered a message Jesse had written on their kitchen chalkboard: nurturing, healing, and love. Those 3 words became more than a message. They became a mission. Through the Choose Love movement, Scarlett now helps individuals, families, and communities build safer, more compassionate environments through emotional awareness, connection, and intentional choice. So today I invite you to grab your cup, open your heart, and lean in gently. This tea time is about courage, healing, and the power we all carry to choose love, even in life's hardest moments. Let me get Scarlett in here and let's spill some tea together. Welcome, Scarlett.
Thank you so much, Miss Liz. Appreciate you.
It is a pleasure to have you here, Scarlett. I have wanted to get this story out for so long. So, Scarlett, let's start with who was Scarlett as a little girl and who is Scarlett now? And then I want to get into the mom of Scarlett.
Who was Scarlett as a little girl? Well, I was one of 4 children, and I'm the oldest. That might mean something in the birth order. I have 3 little brothers, and I had a pretty good childhood. I loved horses and animals, and still do. A lot of that little girl I see in me as an adult. I live on a small farm in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and have now my dream, horses in the backyard. And so, yeah, and I grew up I was born in Arkansas, grew up a little while in Illinois, and then landed in Connecticut because of my dad's job. Grew up riding and having a lot of fun, not necessarily loving school, but appreciate, a good education. But realized when I grew up that what I missed out on was really learning some basic essential life skills as a child, including how to have healthy relationships. That wasn't modeled for me at home. How to resolve conflict. That is something that our family still struggles with, actually, to this day. And, how to have self-control and understand and express my emotions in a healthy way. These were all things that I learned following the tragedy and really trying to address the root cause of the suffering that leads to what happened to my son. And so many others.
So, Scarlett, share a little bit about the mom role, the mom before Jesse's passing, and then the mom after.
The moment before was life, just like everybody else's life. Single mom, full-time job, struggling to make ends meet each month, living month to month. Taking my kids to one daycare in the morning because it opened earlier, picking them up at another in the afternoon because it closed later, having dinners at my mom's house because she lives across town. So that was, before, and then on that day, having dropped the kids off, had my commute to work, getting to my desk with my coffee, and just like, every other day, saying hello to my coworkers. And pretty soon, about an hour after I got to work, having coworkers coming up to me and saying, gee, something's happened in Sandy Hook. And, as information unfolded, something's happened at a school. Oh, doesn't your son go to Sandy Hook Elementary School? That's the school. And honestly, I wasn't really overly concerned, believe it or not, because I think, I think we never think something like that is going to happen to us. And certainly not in this small little New England town of Sandy Hook. And so, actually I had to be told, I think you should probably go to the school. And so on my way, I had a 45-minute commute. So on my way, I had people updating me, a teacher was shot in the foot. And really, your brain, tries to make sense of what's going on. So, it makes up stories. And I thought, oh, well, it's probably a domestic dispute and probably a boyfriend came in and, gosh, Jesse's going to be scared. I need to get there and pick him up. He probably will have the rest of the day off and, all these things. And, but, really not realizing at all the severity of what was going on until I was close to the school, saw military helicopters and, you know, people running all over in chaos and every police car in the state already there. Remember, I had a long commute. I was one of the last parents to get there. And then, you know, people desperately looking for their children and other watching tearful reunions and then them, you know, running off with their kids, taking them home. I realized then that this is a really big deal. And still, you know, my mind it didn't go to death and murder. Yeah. It went to, oh, I need to find Jesse. And I remember approaching, I think his son grew up on the soccer field next to JT, because we were off quite often on the soccer field. JT was a big soccer player. And so I walked up to him. He was also a police officer. And I said, I'm looking for my son, Jesse. And he goes, oh, go into the back room and put your name down on a missing persons list. And I remember thinking, I'm not putting my son's name down on a missing persons list. I'm just going to find him. And I asked somebody else and they said, oh, I think Jesse ran to the house next door. I went to the house next door. Now his dad and I are texting. I'm like, I'm going to the next door. You go to the daycare on the other side. And then, you know, when he was at neither place, I guess, you know, the kids that Jesse saved went to that place. So that's why they thought Jesse was there. And, you know, and somebody said, yeah, he was here, but I think they went to the daycare. So I said to Neil, go to the daycare. And then when we realized he wasn't in those places, Neil went and checked in the hospitals. You know, I mean, it was real chaos. And in fact, we sat at the firehouse all day. They told us the kids were hiding. And that made sense to me. I thought, gosh, they must have been really scared. I actually visualized Jesse running out into the woods with a small contingent of kids leading the charge, because that's so Jesse. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. They're searching cabinets and woods and all of that. You know, anything but going there. But as the day dragged on in hours, you know, and I would have first responders come and ask me questions like, do you have a picture of Jesse, a current picture of Jesse? So I said, well, my cell phone's dead, but, you know, well, go charge it in my police car, because we need a current picture. You know, and then later, after they got the picture, maybe an hour later, he came back and said, did Jesse have any identifying marks on his body? And I was like, oh, yes, he had a little mole on the top of his right foot. You know, all these little things, though. There was a lot of upset about the fact that they left us hanging all day while they identified the bodies. But I actually am grateful for that, because I came to this realization on my own. So by the time they gave us the official word, or kind of non-official word, towards the end of the day, I had already realized that, and, you know, was just sort of, not that your mind processes it, your body goes into this beautiful thing called shock, which helps you continue to stand, continue to function. Somehow, my mother and my stepfather had brought JT, who's was at the time my 12-year-old son, to the school, you know, just the most traumatic event in our lives. And so he was there. And so of course, as a mom, I'm thinking about his best interests and how I am behaving so that, you know, he has somebody to model from. And it was a lot.
So for the people that don't know about what happened at Sandy Hook, do you want to just share a little bit about what happened on that day?
Yes, sure. On December 14th, 2012, a former student whose name was Adam Lanza shot his way through the glass doors in the front of this Sandy Hook Elementary School that was at the end of a cul-de-sac where he had attended himself, and made a left down the first grade hallway where he had attended school, you know, looking for soft targets. The principal and guidance counselor were meeting with a parent in a room on the right side of the hallway. They came out to see what the noise was. He killed them. in the hallway right in front of Jesse's classroom, and then turned into Jesse's classroom. Everybody was kind of awry, you know, scared, obviously. He murdered Jesse's teacher, who was standing right behind him, and his gun either jammed or ran out of bullets. During the short delay, Jesse called for his friends to run. He's credited with saving 9 of his classmates' lives before losing his own. And then the shooter, Adam, went to the second classroom where all the kids were huddled in a bathroom, and he murdered all of them except for one standing in a corner. In the end, there were 28 lives that were lost. You often hear 26, but I always have said 28 because before Adam left that morning, he killed his mother in her bed and then went to the school, murdered 20 first graders, 6 educators and administrators, and then himself. So that equals 28. There were 28 lives lost that day.
Is that one of the biggest school shootings in the United States?
It is the worst mass shooting in an elementary school in the US.
The reason that I wanted to have you on, Scarlett, was to bring awareness because we just had a school shooting here in Canada, I believe a month ago. Do you, through the Choose Love movement, do you bring awareness to the red flags and signs that we can look for?
So what we do is address the root cause of violence, substance abuse, and mental illness. Really what we do is the number one most overlooked aspect of school safety today. And if you look at the Department of Homeland Security's Pathway to Violence, you can look it up on the internet. It starts with a grievance. We know how violence happens, and it escalates through a few steps: ideation, preparation, up into an attack. And so the vast majority of our efforts and resources, time, energy, and money, has been focused on the attack end of the pathway to violence. We can see that in Sandy Hook, and it's still, you know, there's very little change that has happened. We fortify our schools, which, you know, is good. And Sandy Hook had the latest technology. We had all the door locks and the buzzers and everything like that. We fortify our schools. We have active shooter drills. However, what we lack a lot of times, more often than not, is a focus on the other end of the pathway to violence, the grievance end. And when I looked at that, you know, after Jesse's murder, I thought this is 100% preventable, period. And, you know, you can look for symptoms and signs and all of that. Important, right? Because people are in pain and there are almost always signs. But in my mind, I wanted to address the root cause of the suffering that leads to violence. And I thought, okay, what if we provided kids with the essential life skills that they need to manage their grievance so that it doesn't escalate into violence, substance abuse, or even mental illness? What if we did that? And so, you know, I'm still advocating for that. I think it's, what has it been, 13 years later. It's not how we normally think. And if you think about it, it's not how we address societal issues. We usually wait till a mental illness is evident, and then we treat the mental illness, not really the root cause of the mental illness. We wait until violence happens, and then we try to secure areas, which works on a limited basis, obviously, because school shootings are still happening. So we know that that is not the full solution. And in fact, when we just focus on the attack end of the pathway to violence, we are learning from mistakes that are made every single time, human errors, and we're adjusting every time, but we're always a step behind. unless we start addressing the root cause of the suffering, we will never get ahead of this problem.
Absolutely. You know, and bringing awareness to incredible movements like what you've done with Jesse. We have a couple of questions that are coming into the studio that I'd like to get out to you, Scarlett,
Sure.
and then I have some questions for you as well. And then I have some of the books that you have written that I want to bring up. We'll start with this question: is how did you find the strength to start the Choose Love movement?
Kathy, thank you. That's an amazing question. And there are a couple of answers to that. Well, first of all, Jesse's incredible courage. I mean, when your 6-year-old son stands up to a school shooter and saves 9 of his classmates' lives, and he's 6, it's like you got to up your game there. Also, I started out with a tremendous faith. I'm a Christian. I knew where Jesse was in perfection. I knew I never had to worry about him again. I knew that I would see him again. That added a lot of strength for me as well. I also had a 12-year-old son who was, I'm a single mom, and I'm the only thing that he has. So he's looking at me, and I realized I am teaching him in the moment how to move through difficulty, roadblocks, every sort of pain that he's going to go through in life. And so understanding that I was modeling really helped me rise to the occasion. And it didn't mean that I wasn't emotional and I wasn't real. I was, but I was also very aware of modeling resilience for him. And it really helped me.
The next question we have here is, how can we practice choosing love during difficult moments?
What a great question. Let's get right down to it. because in every difficult situation, in every situation in our lives, however we show up, we're either showing up in love or in fear. And let's think about it. Anger, hatred, resentment, revenge, all a mask for fear. So let's make it really simple. Love or fear. And we know that there are difficulties that we face every single day. And we have a process. So if it's okay, Miss Liz, I'm going to go into a little bit of the process, because the how to, and literally the Choose Love movement teaches in our program at no cost, by the way. You can access it today because this would have saved my son's life. I know that it can reduce and prevent so much of the suffering out there. We walk you through a universal formula that helps return your locus of control or your personal power to yourself, where you believe you can make positive change for a better future. And then we also have a choice moment model, which helps you put this formula into action. And so how do you do it? You're facing something that's very difficult in your life. And I just realized, by the way, only a few years ago, oh my gosh, this is my roadmap for how I got through the murder of my son. And I'm just kind of translating it, packaging it for schools, infant, toddler to 12th grade. So it's cultivating your courage. Courage is like a muscle. We can practice it to strengthen it. So it's having the courage to face difficult things. Stand in front of it. Instead of resisting, avoiding, numbing, there's so many different ways that we can numb these days, right? It's literally having the courage to face it, to pause, in other words, and to take a brave breath. These are things that we teach to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, to help you relax, to get curious, to move the information from your fear center, where it filters into your brain first, to your prefrontal cortex, where logic and reasoning reside. It's our executive functioning, the brake on our instinctual reactions. It's where our understanding of good and bad is, as well as our ability to choose love as a thoughtful response, to be the highest and best version of ourselves. It walks you through this process. This is what I did. Pausing, breathing. There's nothing that you can do. There's not even a pill you can take that works faster than a brave breath. And then this curiosity, which is, by the way, the number one indicator of intelligence, getting curious about what's happening in the face of difficulty. And what I'm talking about is literally looking at what's happening and asking yourself, how is this going to help me grow? How am I going to be strengthened by this? Because everything that happens that's difficult, everything that moves you out of your comfort zone, and of course, we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. Sometimes we're drop kicked, though, like I was. Everything that happens like that has a reason and a purpose, and it is for you to grow and be strengthened. That's how we become more resilient. So this is the way, great question. If you want further clarification, you can sign up on the website. Look for our newsletters. We're always giving out little hints, and we have a membership as well. Make sure your schools are embracing programming that teaches essential life skills that address the root cause of the suffering that leads to violence. Make sure they're doing that. And the way to do that is literally calling them and in front of your kids. Yeah, because your kids, we're failing our kids right now. Our kids are scared, as we are. And it is our responsibility to keep them safe. I would say make the call in front of your kids. Hey, I'm Joey's mom. And I'm calling because I heard this woman speaking on a podcast with Miss Liz, and she was talking about essential life skills programming that addresses the root cause of the pathway to violence. Do you have something like that? And I've heard from people, they might say, of course we do, don't worry about it. Or, yes, we do. But ask, okay, if you do, what's it called? If you haven't heard of it, you should have heard of it, and it should have a parent component. But if you haven't, go, what's it called? And the name should roll off their tongue. When do you teach it? Oh, we have advisory once a week. Oh, we have, it should be a program that is a year-long program that's taught at least once a week to keep the learning going. There should be a component for the teachers, for the parents, for the community, and they should be able to explain it to you and be happy to explain it to you. And here's the benefit that you get from doing that. You feel like the opposite of anxiety is positive action. Okay, that's one of the main things in Choose Love. So you have just made a positive action for the safety and well-being of your child. So you're going to have reduced anxiety right off the bat. You're going to experience that. Your kids are going to have heard you advocating on their behalf. Doesn't matter what the call is like. Oh, if it's no, we don't, we're looking into it. Say, oh, well, I have a great program you can look into. And I've heard that it's free. It's chooselovemovement.org. And you can go on, you can register, you can look at it. Here's the kicker. I'm going to call you back in a week and see what you think. Maybe we can sit down about it. You know what? The founder has even said that she will get on the phone with you and she will discuss it with you because that's how much she believes in it. And it's so important for school safety. So, I'm here. I'm a real live person. I have a small team and we are passionate about this. We want to save lives. And this is not the normal conversation that people have. This is not the billion-dollar industry that has, come up around hardening schools. And I'm not dissing it. It's important. But equally as important is proactive prevention because we can prevent the suffering that leads to violence. Hurt people. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. And so you can help people take that pain and teach them to learn, grow, and be strengthened by it instead of taking themselves down and others along with them.
Absolutely. And, I've done some research here, Scarlett, and the numbers are, you're in 135 countries. You've served 16,000.5 schools, 99% effective, 47% referral reduction. There's numbers, there's proof there, it's there. Check it out. We have a question here about the school that I really want to get out to you, Charlotte, is how can schools implement social emotionally learning programs?
Wow. At Discover Connecticut, That's my state. All right. Yes. How can they implement? So that's a great question, because I think that's the struggle, right? Finding time, getting educators on board, and really making a commitment, as well as cost, but Choose Love takes the cost out of it. So that's a great question. And I've seen it implemented in different ways. Like, we might have administration that's not on board, and a single teacher starts Choosing Love in her classroom, and within 3 months it's district wide. I've seen that. I've also seen courageous leaders that understand the value in social emotional learning or character education, and they show great leadership, and they say, this is, what we're going to do, and they figure it out. There is time every day. You can get creative with it. Social and emotional learning is like, it really even shouldn't be looked at like a program that's taken off a shelf. Like, if you Choose Love, do the Choose Love for schools, and you use it once a week, you should be furthering that practice every single day. It's actually a skill and a tool that we use every single day in every interaction. Every single time that we face a challenge or a disappointment or a difficulty, we are using our social and emotional competency skills. So in other words, you can learn this from the program, but then you have to practice it for the rest of your life. And you might think you've mastered it at one point, and life throws you a curveball. And so now, though, you have this invisible tool belt where you have the skills and tools to deal with anything with strength and grace. And you just pull them out and you go, okay, this is a different situation, but I have the skills and tools. How do I use it here? These are skills and tools that universities are looking for, employers are looking for, and value highly above all else. You are setting your kids up for flourishing and success in every aspect of their life, in their own families. These skills and tools are passed down generationally, just like trauma is.
Okay.
So there are many different ways. If you want to brainstorm, go on to our website, chooselovemovement.org, and click the contact button and say, I just heard Scarlett on Miss Liz, and I want to brainstorm with her, because it's got to be in schools. I wish, by the way, I just like to say, I wish that I knew this before my 6-year-old son was murdered, but you can benefit from what I've learned from my mistakes, and you don't have to have them being made in your schools and in your communities. So, what I say is use me because this doesn't have to happen. I mean, all this suffering that's going on in our world does not have to happen. The vast majority of it can be proactively reduced and prevented with essential life skills, like what we teach in Choose Love.
Well, we have a question here about teaching. So how can parents teach children compassion effectively?
What a beautiful question. And thank you for that. And the most effective way to teach something is to model it. So compassion is, we have this formula is courage plus gratitude plus forgiveness plus compassion. And we do have a home program on the website, and we have a membership. If it's a low cost per month, but you get calendars, you can put them on your fridge, and they're positive actions that you can take every single day with your child to show compassion, to practice forgiveness, to have a grateful heart, to practice that courage muscle so we can face hard things in our life and grow through them. And so I would say the most effective way is just to show it yourself. And it's, this stuff isn't easy. It's simple. Oh, it's so simple what she's saying. Sure, it's simple, but it's not easy, or everyone would do it. Yeah. When somebody's mean to you, and I'm talking to kindergartners, but it applies to us adults as well. Somebody's Absolutely. Mean to you, it's hard to pause, take a brave breath, get curious about what the pain is behind that meanness, and then thoughtfully respond with compassion. That's hard. But I tell you what, if you do that in front of your kids, that's how they learn. And that's how you rewire your brain through neuroplasticity towards love and away from fear. It not only benefits your kids, it benefits you too. And literally, like every day, all the difficulty that we face and the pain are all opportunities for learning and growth.
Absolutely. And Scarlett, I say this all the time to my children and my grandkids. Grandma wants to be the example. So we're just serving real tea. We're serving a lot of the guests that I have on have gone through so much trauma, so much abuse, mental health, society, dividing and that. And so many have turned their pain into purpose. And that's what Choose Love movement is, taking a hard time and making it a difference. I want to bring up the book because we have a question here about nurturing, healing, and love. And I'm also going to bring up the book so people can see. Is this Jesse's handwriting on this book?
That's not Jesse's handwriting. That was, Jesse phonetically spelled nurturing, healing, love. So it wasn't spelled that way. And it was a little hard to read, but it definitely said that. And there is a picture of the chalkboard in that book. I still have the chalkboard. My dad covered it with plexiglass, so it would always stay there. But I tell you what, that right there brought it all home for me. I realized that's the solution right there. And it's so simple. If Adam Lanza had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing, love, the tragedy would never have happened. It was so incredibly simple. And, but as I said, simple isn't easy, but I believe, I know that, those aren't the normal words that, a 6-year-old would say. People have asked me, oh, did you go around saying nurturing, healing, love? No, I did not. Was he learning that in school? No, he wasn't. So I truly believe, because I'm a spiritual person, that was a message that came through him. I found that after his murder. So he wrote that sometime shortly before, but I believe in that as the solution so much that, Miss Liz, here I am 13 years later, I've dedicated my life to spreading this message, and I do it 24/7, and I have gratitude in my heart for doing it.
So we have a question here. What inspired this?
Beautiful, Brandon. Brandon, thank you for asking that. I mean, if you're asking about the message of nurturing, healing, love, I truly believe that it was divinely inspired. I believe it came through Jesse. I mean, those 3 words aren't words that a 6-year-old would say. And Jesse wouldn't say either. I love Jesse. He was very mature for his age, but obviously a protector, but he didn't walk around talking like that. So I was blown away. I was changed forever when I found that message. And I realized this is my life's purpose. So often, through painful events, we can find purpose. And, I think I was a fairly decent person before the tragedy, but I didn't live my life in service. And somebody asked about compassion earlier. I strive every single day to give love. And here's the amazing thing. The research behind compassion shows that all love, and I say the nurturing, healing love that you give out, you actually get back, which is absolutely amazing. And that's the research. Can you imagine a world? This is what we teach in Choose Love. Can you imagine a world where people understood that the nurturing, healing love they give out, they get back? It'd be a different world.
Absolutely. So we have a question here coming in from Uganda, and it's you truly raised a hero. Do you know what inspired Jesse to write nurturing, healing, love on the kitchen chalkboard?
You know what? I think that it's spiritual, and that's the only thing that I can say, because it didn't come from home, it didn't come from school. And the only explanation that I have is that it was a spiritual message that was coming through him. And it was meant to be shared with the world. Sandy Hook, the international tragedy, gave me a platform to share this message. And it's not a usual message that's shared following a tragedy. And I do want to say, I had a thought process afterwards, and so many people were moving towards anti-movements, and there was a lot of pressure for me to join them as well. And I literally had a thought. Remember, I'm thinking about modeling for my 12-year-old son, and I thought, do I want to be fighting against something for the rest of my life and modeling that for my son, or do I want to be for something, for the most powerful unifying factor in the world, love? And I chose love.
So, Scarlett, I want to bring up the book with Jesse on it and share a little bit about the Nurturing Healing Love book as well. But I'm going to pop up this book because I want to show Jesse a beautiful young little boy. Share on what got you to write the books.
Yes, absolutely. So the first book, Nurturing Healing Love, is about my journey, the first 6 months, literally. That book was published within 8 months. I just had this, and I still have this energy that comes from the inside out of me. It's a calling. And it's not that it doesn't get tiring or overwhelming, but I can't stop. And so I knew that this was a message that I was supposed to spread throughout the world. So that happened very quickly. I started the Choose Love movement January 2013, so a month after the tragedy. And that book, Nurturing Healing Love, is about the first 6 months of my journey, and it's a lot about signs that happened from Jesse, incredible, mind-blowing signs with other people seeing them as well. So it's not just me. That's an incredible book. And then, this book is more about the movement that came out of that tragedy. It's more about the Choose Love movement. It's about the formula a little bit. It's about it's a lot of testimonials, because this formula and this choice moment model is universal. So it can be taught in kindergarten, and it can be taught in prisons. And it's the same formula and the same model. And in fact, we do teach it in prisons with incredible success, just like in schools. And those inmates say, wow, if we had known this as a child, we would have been able to choose love. We would have chosen love. I mean, obviously that's the choice that you want to choose, but they didn't know they had a choice. And how would you if you weren't given that option? So it's universal. So it talks about all the different places that have implemented, and we have some pretty high level people in there that are sharing their experience. What I love is also educators sharing how it changed their life, as well as the students. Somebody from Connecticut, I think, asked, how do we implement this? Well, you need to get teachers buy-in. And, this is a program that benefits the educator as much as it does the student. Everything that the educator is sitting there teaching the student, they're either learning alongside the student, or they are practicing and reinforcing in themselves. It's a great reminder. We have to be reminded that we have a choice in every interaction, everything that happens to us in our lives. We can't always choose what happens to us. And I guess I'm the poster girl for that. However, we can take our personal power back in how we choose to thoughtfully respond. And we can all choose love. We just need some skills and tools and awareness to be able to do that. Thank you, Russ.
I want to get this third book up because we're running out of time. It's getting really close. I appreciate all the questions, but I really want to get these books out because I want people to check these books out. I want people to check out the Choose Love movement. Choosing Love, A Pathway to Flourishing. What is this book about?
So this is a kind of a different kind of children's book. This is literally, and my art instructor, who is the modern day Michelangelo, she actually did these original watercolors for this book, and so that's the little mini donkey that Jesse had, although it doesn't look that mini. That is actually my kitchen, and that is where the chalkboard was. And so this is a book. So I love to read to my kids, and we know how important reading is, especially in this day and age of screens. So it has a little instructional forward, and it's got some questions that you can ask your kids, and it's relatively long. So it's not meant to be read in one sitting. It's and every single page has, it's almost like a little sonnet, and it's a lesson. There's a little hidden duck. Ducks were Jesse's favorite toy, so that's part of our logo. And there's a little hidden duck in each page, and it's really for all ages. You know, usually children's books are like for this specific age group. This spans. You can be a grandparent and read this to your grandkids, and you can be reminded and have these awarenesses reinforced within yourself, or you can learn these little lessons, little simple, easy, sweet lessons every single page. And then you won't finish it in one sitting. And so you put it away and you go, okay, tomorrow night, we're going to pick it up again. And it was something that I wanted, you know, the whole family to be able to join in on and to be excited about, and to enliven the love of reading, but also having these lessons. And I wanted them to see their own faces in the faces in this book. So it's really, I think, kind of a masterpiece. It's a dream come true, because I always wanted to write a book with my mom. Maureen is my mom, so she and I worked on this together, and my art instructor did the design. So you know, it's a really fun book. It corresponds to what we teach in the Choose Love movement. And I'll just say I have another book coming out next fall, and it is specifically for educators. And I think it's going to be called Choosing Love for Schools. And it's almost like a masterclass in itself for the Choose Love movement. So it's giving educators a really fantastic jumpstart on teaching all of the concepts within the Choose Love movement, giving them confidence, but anybody can read it.
Absolutely incredible work. And I love that you got the family involved, because that's what we need. We need to start bringing families back together. Absolutely. And having those conversations. And bedtime stories are deeply important. I'm a big one. I do FaceTime with my granddaughter and read her a bedtime story, because she's like, and I'll like, go pick your book that you want. Or if Nanny has it at her house, well, then Nanny will read it from her house, but she has her books at her house. And then she'll just turn the pages and I'll read the stories, and then she'll say goodnight and she'll go to bed. But I think there's always a way to find time to make a bedtime story happen for any kid. Whether it's your grandchildren, your children. I think that's, for me, was the bonding time. That was my bonding time with my children, was bedtime.
Same with me. That was a really special time. That was my favorite time with them.
Because you asked them how they did in school and all of that stuff. What did you learn today? All that good stuff. We have some questions that are coming in, and I want to get this one out there to you, Scarlett, is how is the Choose Love movement helping to prevent school shootings?
That's a great question. So the Choose Love movement addresses the root cause of the suffering that leads to school shootings. So here's the interesting thing, and you can start looking for this now too. So with Sandy Hook, they never came up with a motive. They didn't know why Adam Lanza did what he did. And that was so frustrating to me, because I said, gosh, if you don't know why, how are you going to solve it? And if you look at a lot of the school shootings that are covered in the media, a lot of times they do not have a motive. And so that's what really frustrated me. And I decided, well, obviously the motive is pain, right? Yeah. Because hurt people, and people that feel good about themselves and have healthy connections and are thriving don't want to harm themselves or other people. So I created a motive. I mean, the motive is pain. So I created a program that addresses that pain. And it's kind of interesting, because whoever, I mean, my parents never said to me, hey, life is going to be painful. You're going to
Yeah.
experience pain, and we're going to teach you how to face that pain and learn, grow, and be strengthened by it. It's a concept called post-traumatic growth. Now, everybody that's listening right now has heard about PTSD.
Yep.
Very few have heard about PTG. And so that's the thread that underlies everything that we do in the Choose Love movement. It's teaching kids that pain has a purpose, that takes away some of the fear. Fear is what exacerbates pain and inhibits healing. We're all going to face pain physically, mentally, emotionally. It's actually a powerful connector. It's a powerful way to learn lessons. If you had no pain in your life, you would have zero resilience. So teaching them actually the benefits, reducing the fear, and then helping them learn, grow, and be strengthened by pain. So that, yeah, everybody has grievances every once in a while, right? Yeah, you're going to have a grievance. You're going to have pain. But guess what? That pain has a purpose. It's there to help you grow. Here's how you get curious about it. And here's a formula to help you manage it. That's how it prevents school shootings. Not just school shootings. It prevents the majority of mental illness comes from anxiety and pain that grows. It also, I mean, why do people abuse drugs? There are other reasons, but a lot of it comes from pain.
Yeah.
So it's really the only program that I know about that addresses pain in this way. And then also teaches forgiveness. And, there's some other programs that address gratitude, but we start with how we think, because this metacognition is the number one most important thing for all of us human beings. We have a natural negative bias. We focus on the negative. The majority of our thoughts are negative and repetitive every day. And that's just right off the bat, everybody that's listening. So learning about metacognition, learning how to be aware of what your thinking is and how to switch your thinking from negative to positive, which is what we do with gratitude. So important. Understanding forgiveness. Forgiveness is the number one way to reduce pain and to have healthy relationships. And Harvard University's longest ever study on human life says that healthy relationships are the key to happiness. So you start to see how this all comes together. And then, compassion. It's just becoming the best version of yourself. And that's what we all want. And that's what life is, a journey. And we're supposed to be learning and growing and becoming better every single day. You are not the same person that you were yesterday, because you've learned and grown, whether you realize it or not. And you can help facilitate that growth. And you're modeling for your kids in everything that you do. You think you go into the back bedroom and have a conversation? They know and they hear, and understanding that helps you become the highest and best version of yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Scarlett, for sharing that. We got so many questions coming in. I'd like to get out as many as I can.
Sure.
But for the ones that I don't get out, I'll send them to you as well.
Sure.
How can communication become safer through love and awareness? And then we have a question here about somebody who has experience. What message do you have for parents who have gone through school shootings as well?
Sure. Thank you. Real Estate with Kate. That's a great question, because community involvement is really, really important. Having everybody connected through a message of love is very important. Having everybody focusing on the same thing, speaking the same words, really, really important. Intention is very important as well. And we have communities that are Choose Love communities now. Bentonville, Arkansas has designated, that is the home of Walmart, designated November 7th as Choose Love Day. And they have a huge celebration. Last time I was down there, 23 out of 26 schools were celebrating, talking about how they choose love. They had a marching band. Can you imagine a community getting together to celebrate love, celebrating seeing each other, really seeing each other for who they are, being seen, safety, all this stuff. We reinforce each other. We support each other. So it's really important to have common messaging. And that's how it helps in communities. And you can actually log on to Choose Love, chooselovemovement.org. You can look for our community program, and it gives you some guidelines on how to start that. But you know, we have pediatricians' offices that are choosing love. We have grocery stores. We have police departments. We have bus drivers. We have school resource officers. I mean, everyone can obviously choose love as a thoughtful response. But, you know, when you get up in the morning and you're thinking about choosing love, your day is going to go better.
And what message would you have for the parents that have gone through this as well, Scarlett?
First of all, my heart goes out to you, because where I started was not knowing if I was going to live. That's how bad the pain is. So I feel for you. I'm so sorry that this happened. I do believe that forgiveness, and I know that, you know, if you're early in on the journey, there's, you know, sometimes a lot of resistance to that, but I have to say it anyway. I had a lot of resistance when I said that I forgave Adam Lanza, and it actually made people angry. But I will tell you this: I've researched the decades of science behind the benefits of forgiveness for the forgiver, for me, not the person who caused harm. And it is your path to freedom from pain. I realized I did not want to be another victim of the shooter. And if I became a victim, my 12-year-old son would become a victim. And we were called victims of the shooting, but I did not want to live my life that way. And I realized the only path to freedom and reduction in pain and suffering was forgiveness. And I can tell you, I mean, this is what the science says that it works, but I can tell you personally, it is so empowering. And you empower your children to be able to move through life and not be victims of this and that. I mean, think about it. People carry around grudges and hurt from their childhood, and it limits everything in their life. So yes, bad things happen to good people. But you have this incredibly powerful tool called forgiveness that allows you to still honor, of course, your loved one, but also honor your surviving kids and moving through and actually doing something positive with that pain.
Well, Scarlett, I want to get this out really quickly because we're almost at our end here. When you go to the website, you'll find Choose Love for School, Choose Love for Professional Development, and Choose Love for Home. Could you share really quickly about those three different Choose Love?
Yes, absolutely. So when you go online, and if you're sending the link to schools, I would go into Choose Love for Schools, because that is our no-cost program. We do offer workshops, training, professional development, community events, and so that's that next option. We also check out our memberships, because that opens up a whole new other part of our website that enables schools to download the program and the corresponding slides. So it opens up a lot of stuff: pre-recorded professional development, all my books, and personal time with me every month. And then the last one for communities is just some guidelines for bringing this to your community. And we have a small team. We are here to love and support your efforts. Everyone on my team believes so thoroughly in this. We have ambassadors across the country and world that are volunteers that are actively working to spread the message. So, and that's how the message has been spread, I'd like to say, by word of mouth. We've never done outreach. So everybody has heard about this. Usually it's an educator telling an educator, oh my God, this is such a great program, you have to try it. And so I still believe that by word of mouth, that is the most powerful way to spread a message. So would appreciate everybody helping me do that that's listening.
Well, I really want to get into this really quickly because you mentioned grievance and then the violence, idealization, research, planning, preparation, probing and breaching and attack. Is that part of the program?
So we address the grievance end. You know, we're not technical on the pathway to violence, but we give the skills and tools to manage the grievance. We are proactive and preventative. I mean, in reality, we can reduce and prevent the suffering that leads to a school shooting. I mean, it's possible in every situation. So yeah, it's important because there are kids out there, there are adults out there that are in so much pain and they don't have any skills and tools. So all they know is to off put their pain on themselves and other people. And that's what you read about. And so, yeah, important to know that pathway to violence, important to have some security measures in place at your school, 100%. But equally as important are the programs that focus on the grievance end, that give kids the skills and tools to manage that grievance. So important.
And Scarlett, do you speak like in schools and prisons and organizations and that as well?
I absolutely do. Yes, I travel and do speaking in schools to kids, to communities, and prisons, and in businesses. Businesses then turned around and came to us and said, oh my gosh, this formula and choice moment model, we could use it here. And so, yes, I speak, and there's a speaking form on the website as well. We have a media kit if you want more information. Absolutely.
Could you just shout out the website for all the audio listeners out there? And what is your final message to everybody today?
Yes, please. So the website is chooselovemovement.org. chooselovemovement.org. And I think my final message would be one of hope. There is something that we can do. I think that we, maybe have gotten into this malaise or helplessness that we feel like, oh my gosh, we're just going to have school shootings. And this is our normal because it's not new anymore. This is just our normal. And this is what we're going to expect. And now we have to live like this. We do not have to live like this. There is something we can do. But if we wait for our leadership, our politicians to do something, they're not. Because I'm not saying they're not doing anything. I'm saying if they could stop this, they would. They have kids too. They can't. It is going to be us. We are responsible for the world that our children are growing up in. We're responsible for the world that we're handing off to them. And so we have to be active. We have to do something. And one of the most powerful things, in my opinion, that you could do is make sure that your school is choosing love. This is going to raise a generation of conscious, really resilient and social and emotionally competent children who are going to become our leadership, who are going to be modeling for their kids. And this is going to start us off on a really firm foundation. We have come down a lot, unfortunately, and it's up to us. It's you and me. We're in this together, shoulder to shoulder, to create the change that we want to see in the world. We're the people that are going to do it. But as anthropologist Margaret Mead says in her famous quote, it takes a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens to come together to create global change. And so we can do this together.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining me today on Tea Time. And thank you to all the listeners and the viewers that came into the studio, asked your questions. Some of the questions I wasn't able to get out. If you guys would like me, I could send them to Scarlett. Scarlett can answer those through email as well to you. Scarlett, if anybody would like to reach out to you directly, how could they reach out to you, like to have them on their podcast or at their schools and stuff like that?
Sure. So my email address is my name, my first name, Scarlett, and you see that, if you can see it, it's SCARLETT at JessieLewisChooseLove.org. So I'll spell it for you. It's kind of long. JessieLewis ChooseLove.org. Scarlett at JessieLewisChooseLove.org.
Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to do a recap of what today's tea time was, and I'll see everybody at 3 p.m. for another special tea time. And then we'll see you next week, and we'll do it all over again. But Scarlett, thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your strength. And thank you for choosing to turn pain into purpose in a way that continues to ripple across the world. Today, we were reminded that love is not just something we feel. It is something we choose in our actions, in our responses, and in how we show up for one another. Jessie's message, nurturing, healing love, is not just something we heard today. It is something we now carry forward. Here is something to hold on to after this tea time. In every moment, especially the difficult ones, we are given a choice to react from pain or to respond with love. To everyone listening, you can make a difference. You can start by choosing kindness in your daily life. You can share this message. You can bring these teachings into your homes, your communities, and your conversations. Because change begins with a choice, and that choice is love. Until our next cup, share, keep choosing love, keep choosing awareness, and keep becoming the change you wish to see in the world. And I'll see everybody at 3 p.m. with the next tea time.
Thank you.